friends. Welcome to another episode of Job Seeker Spotlight, the video podcast series from Inspire Careers, where I introduce active job seekers into the marketplace to help you learn more about them and to try to imagine what it would be like to have them in your organization. My guest today is Jake Holtham. Hi, Jake. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today. Jake and I have been working together. Let me tell you a little bit about Jake. Jake has a degree in cybersecurity from Rochester Institute of Technology, RIT, and he's a recent grad. He just graduated in December, and he is actively looking for jobs right now. He's got a really exciting background. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and cybersecurity and all those background pieces to it are certainly topics of our day. Anyone who has a digital life at all, which should be all of us, should be concerned about that. So let's talk a little bit more to Jake and hear what's going on with him. So Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself.
The question. Yeah. Hi. So I'm Jake. I am a recent grad from RIT, as mentioned, and I have a little bit of experience in the field as well, thanks to RIT's co-op program. I worked a little bit in a security operations center over at ITT Inc., where I worked on a lot of their alert systems with their SIEM and their infrastructure. It was some pretty good experience on top of the experience I already had going into it, because I worked a little bit of IT in high school as well. So going from IT into the security kind of part of it really helped introduce me to that part of the field, because there really is kind of a little bit of segmentation going on there, a little bit of specialization. So my experience as a graduate is a little limited, but I do have a fair amount of on-hands job experience thanks to that co-op program and those opportunities from the job. Besides the co-op experience, I also have a lot of personal experience working with IT and cybersecurity things as well. A lot of my pride and joy comes from my home lab server infrastructure I have hanging out in my basement, running all my services in my home, and a fair amount of time spent at home myself doing little reverse engineering challenges and other like capture the flag-esque challenges for cybersecurity. So,
Jake, tell us a little bit about the Capstone Project that you had. You had shared that it was really interesting. I think that's a great experience to be able to share.
Yeah. So for RIT graduates, we have to do our Capstone Project, which is essentially just a end of degree project. And for cybersecurity in particular, I think this is true of a lot of tech majors. They have a clinic where companies can approach them and say, "Hey, can we get some of your Capstone students to work with us for something we need?" And so I ended up signing on to one of those. So I worked with the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra to evaluate their infrastructure because they felt like they needed a cybersecurity evaluation. For that project, without telling too much about their specific setup, just out of respect for the company, it was very much like a vulnerability assessment, penetration test, dual homed kind of idea, where they felt like they didn't quite understand like a lot of the infrastructure going on there, because a lot of it was a little bit dusty and they hadn't had on-hands IT for a while. So we got in there and we poked around the network and figured out everything that was on it and saw what was outdated, and ended up with a report to them where we sat down with their executives and had what's essentially two parts of the report. We had like a technical part of the report that they would hand to their MSP or, future IT provider, which we recommended they get a hand on. And also just, a layman part where it's the same stuff, except something that someone non-technical could understand and understand why that's important to get handled. So,
Jake, when you talk about these projects, and we're not going to get into all of them today, but you give us a flavor for that. And when you and I have talked about all these different experiences you had, you're so excited about them. What is it in particular about the topic? And we talked about reverse engineering. What is it about it that you love so much?
There's a few things. The first thing is very obviously, I get excited about it because I like putting my hands to the keyboard and I like interacting with these things that I enjoy. It's the simplest thing to enjoy about it. It's part of the reason I do it is because I, during, say, summer of 2019, got into this whole thing because I decided to sit down every day of my summer and throw myself at some, reverse engineering type challenge where they'd give me a little executable and I'd try and crack it. And that kind of thing is fun. I just really enjoy sticking my nose into a terminal for 12 hours straight. It's just it's fun.
But I like that about you. I like that, hear that, because your passion for it, and everybody uses the word passion, but you really do light up when you talk about it, and you do seem like you're having fun with it. So, when we talk about getting hired, moving into another organization, I think that passion piece, that excitement shows through. But why else should somebody hire you, Jake? There's a lot of people with great degrees. Why you?
I was going to say the other side of that, the other reason I enjoy it a lot actually is talking about it. And I think that's why it comes through, is that it's not just like the doing it, even though that is obviously a big part of it. I get excited to talk about it because I enjoy trying to take something that I've found interesting and telling it as not just the idea, but also as kind of a story. Even if someone doesn't really necessarily understand the thing that I'm doing, I feel like anybody could find what I'm doing interesting or at least pertinent if I, spin it correctly. Where, maybe you don't really know how reverse engineering and executable, some kind of thing like that works. But, I could tell you the story about how I picked up a piece of malware off the side because my friend got hacked on a social media platform. So I asked him for the sample, and long story short, I found the guy's GitHub link that made the malware. They make for great stories and they make for interesting things to talk about. And it makes it very easy to talk about them.
Well, that's great. And tell me a little bit about, I know you're currently working right now while you're looking for the other job that you're really excited to have, particularly in reverse engineering, cybersecurity world. What are you currently doing? Just tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Sure. Okay. I am currently working with a Toyota dealership near me in New Jersey to just, manage their IT infrastructure. They have like one on-site IT person for their specific building. And so, obviously between the three buildings on that lot, he runs around a lot. So I'm there helping him with stuff. I do a lot of automations because as the person who's not there all the time, they don't want to, hand me something to do with like their big infrastructure, so to speak, if I'm not going to be there for a while and I haven't been there for a while. So I end up spending a lot of my time sitting down and scripting a lot of the monotonous work that the IT guy would have to do, such that, long after I leave, he can just run the things that I made and it would make his life easier afterward. One quick example is I wrote a thing that usually he has to maintain a list of car models and their specifications on an Excel sheet. And it can be kind of painful because every year when the new models come out, he has to go down and then take all the new car IDs and then add their specifications. But I wrote a cool script that reaches out to the server that he gets that information from and authenticates with it with a token, with like an API token, and then pulls all that information down and automatically processes it out and puts it into a sheet. So that'll save him a good, apparently it takes him like 4 or 5 hours every year when it happens. So I think that, that's a nice time save.
You got a well-rounded experience there, Jake. That's awesome. I'm glad that you shared that as well. Listen, our time is almost up here. If somebody is interested in speaking with you more to learn more about your experience and what you could do for them and to see that fabulous new resume, how can they best reach you, Jake?
Yeah, so you can reach me in a few ways. My first and primary point of contact for people reaching out to me for the first time is by email at Holtham J, my last name, HOLTHAM as in Michael, J @gmail.com. Secondarily, you can reach out to me on my phone, but given the amount of, spam calls we receive nowadays, I would refer you to my email first. But you can reach me on the phone at 201-321-2349.
Okay. And you know what else we'll do too, Jake, is when we actually have this go live, we'll put your LinkedIn URL there too, because you got
that's perfect.
His profile, and you can reach out to Jake because he is there as well. Jake, thank you so much for spending time with me today. All we wanted to do was to allow you to shine a little bit and to generate some interest in this fabulous opportunities that you can provide for companies. So thank you so much, Jake.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that ends another episode of Job Seeker Spotlight here at Inspire Careers. Be sure to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube and make sure that you hit the bell and then you get fresh content that drops on a weekly basis. In the meantime, until we meet again, live inspired.